So, I mean, final verdict. What is this Oscar bait?
Yeah, I hate saying it, but like overall, I kind of would put it towards in that scenario, honestly.
Are you itching to move?
No, I'm not.
Good.
Actually, at all.
What's up, YouTube? Drive-By Movies here, and you're watching
Fresh Releases.
My name is James.
My name is Blaze.
And today we're checking out some of the new films that are being hailed as the Oscar contenders. This one just released on Netflix. We're checking out Maestro.
No, you have to think.
I'm trying to.
It's two, darling.
Do.
It's two. Like us, a pair. Two little ducks in a pond.
Bradley Cooper's sophomore directorial feature tells the love story that chronicles the lifelong relationship of conductor-composer Leonard Bernstein and Felicia Montalegre Cohn-Bernstein. So this is a Netflix original film. It debuted on Netflix. I think it premiered in theaters a couple weeks before, but now it's pretty much solely on Netflix. Maybe you could probably catch it in LA or New York. But other than that, we got the chance to watch this on Netflix, which is cool because it is, it's definitely the front runner, being lauded as the front runner for the Oscars. So we're a little bit ahead of the game this year compared to some of the years past where, the films might not have been released into maybe January or so. But anyways, James, what do you think of Bradley Cooper's Maestro?
Yeah, so I still haven't seen his debut, A Star Is Born. It's been on my list for quite some time, but I know that everyone hailed it as amazing. And I do look forward to watching it sometime, especially after seeing Maestro. Overall, I'd say Maestro didn't necessarily work for me in every category, though. I'd say I did like the technical aspect of it, like shooting in black and white for the flashbacks, but keeping the modern stuff in color, and then also the decision to keep it in 4:3. Despite it being at home, it still looked pretty cool to see. So I appreciated those takes, and Bradley Cooper is really great at getting some great shots there too. Just overall narratively and story-wise, it just kind of felt by the numbers biopic, I guess you could say. I'm kind of over biopics. Like, there's a few here and there that I will enjoy, but I kind of briefly mentioned it to you like a little earlier, but just like movies like whatever happened to like Trumbo, movies that were Oscar frontrunners when they first came out, but kind of forgotten. That's kind of how I feel about Maestro, sadly. What are your thoughts?
So yeah, I have to chime in there. I do agree that this is probably going to be a film that, even if it was to win like every Oscar, every category, it's probably going to be a film that we don't even think about, in 5 years. I mean, I haven't thought about Trumbo since you mentioned it. So that just shows you where I don't think Trumbo did actually win a whole ton of stuff. I can't remember. Maybe it just won like screenplay or something like that, I almost feel like. But being that was probably 5 years ago, and I haven't really thought about it. The movie is just okay. It's paint by numbers. Thinking about other films like that, you could go and say The King's Speech or Imitation Game, which those types of films have almost become almost like a cliche. So Maestro definitely slots itself perfectly in with those movies of like trying to do so much to just get almost get either Academy Awards and technical aspects, which I think a lot of the technical aspects and features about this movie were absolutely incredible. I think some of the cinematography was honestly incredible. There's some of those shots in the opening scene where it's like moving through the symphony hall and the concert hall, and I know CGI is definitely employed in some of those shots, but it still looked just really it just looked really awesome and really stood out. So I do see some of that stuff working. I know that Bradley Cooper caught a lot of flack for the makeup effects, but I never felt like throughout the course of the film that the makeup effects didn't work well. And then also at the end of the film, I mean, spoiler alert, they show some archival footage with actual Leonard Bernstein, and it literally looks, I couldn't tell that it wasn't Bradley Cooper. I was like, oh, it's Bradley Cooper there. And then I'm like, wait, that's not him. Oh, they look exactly identical. So I think that really nailed it. I could see makeup taking home an award for that, just because I think it really works. Obviously taken out of context with just, screenshots that we see of Bradley Cooper with his gigantic nose, it doesn't work. But in the context of the film, and maybe even up to the context of the actual Leonard Bernstein, it really does work really well.
Yeah, definitely. The makeup for sure worked also within the current circumstances of like where we were seen towards the beginning of the film as well as towards the end of the film. Also thought that they worked really well. I did find it a little laughable at first when Bradley Cooper is introduced at 25 years old within the first 5 minutes when they first go in the past. It's like, what? There's no way this guy is playing a 25-year-old. But no, just like that's just us like knowing the real life Bradley Cooper though for the most part. But I really enjoyed though, like, yeah, seeing the makeup effects within him in his aging process. And like, it was actually really well done. And I'm surprised to hear that some people are like taking away that it doesn't look well. Is that what some like online people are saying, or just...
I think that was maybe even before the film was released. I think the main conversation was that like his nose was way too big. It looks horrible. But I mean, it's like you can't really take it out of context of the film. Like, yeah, if you just see a screenshot that's totally out of context compared to Bradley Cooper, compared to him with the makeup from this film, like, yeah, the makeup, it almost feels like cartoonish in a way, but in the context of the movie, it never felt that way.
Right. Yeah, and also I'm just curious to hear what other people are thinking about too. Like, because other than like, you know, just the overall consensus of like what critics are saying, I see that it's well liked, but I'm not sure if it's being hailed as like a masterpiece or anything. I've talked to a few friends and stuff just to gather their thoughts, and like, you know, overall when I was like voicing some of my stuff, I was like, well, I wish they explored more of this and stuff, and for it being mainly about his like work as a composer, like it kind of focuses more on the family history, and like people were trying to explain, well, that's the point of the movie. It's like, yeah, I get that, but just like I felt like it only like kind of just barely went into the more interesting aspects of his family stuff, but also just the little mini parts within like both segments. I thought both weren't explored enough overall, I'd say.
So I think when it comes to the music biopic, would you have preferred, I guess, the paint by numbers, like Rise? Like, this is definitely more focused on the love story as opposed to the musician. I never felt like we got the context as to why Bernstein is, you know, one of the greatest composers, whether it's, you know, clearly composing music or even just conducting music. I never felt like I got that in the film. That has to be something where I think maybe I explore on my own. I mean, it definitely when they show and like you hear some of the music there, it is, you know, very impressive, but I never felt like I gained the context as to why he is, you know, the best. Right. And he, sorry,
yeah,
go ahead.
I mean, oh no, that's pretty much it. Like I kind of felt more like this movie kind of went in the direction of I think it was just called Jobs, or was that the one that was done by Danny Boyle? I remember that there are two Steve Jobs movies.
Wait, the one with Ashton Kutcher, or the one with
not the one with Ashton, the one with Michael
Aaron
Fassbender.
Sorkin? Yeah, that's the Aaron Sorkin one, right?
Yes, correct.
I honestly forgot that Danny Boyle directed that. I thought Aaron Sorkin directed that.
No, that was Danny Boyle directed it, but I forgot that Aaron Sorkin did write it. But overall, I kind of saw it more like that, to where like I thought that like it was just kind of segments within his life. So therefore, I didn't get enough of the family drama, because I thought all that was very interesting. I would have loved to have seen that explored a little bit more, but because it was more like just like sequences of times of events, I felt like it was just kind of like, you know, touching the subject, but then also same thing with just like, we know that he's a famous composer. We know that just from hearing the name, and we know that it's a biopic movie, but I just never got to see that rise. So it kind of reminded me a lot of that movie overall, but that movie also didn't necessarily work for me when that one came out. So it's just like, I kind of got the same thing over, but just like overall, like it's kind of more style over the substance, when there is a lot of substance to begin with, but just we didn't get to see it, I felt like.
It almost reminds me slightly like, because I kind of understand where Bradley Cooper is coming from, where he, you know, omitted all that stuff that could have been paint by numbers, just the typical, okay, his rise to fame in that, you know, small tight knit world. But it kind of reminds me of like superhero movies where you get like a Batman movie now, and they honestly just omit the origin story because you've already seen it 1,000 times, you know, whether it's the Leonard Bernstein or, you know, some famous rock band like the Beatles. You kind of just assume like, okay, you know, we've seen this already before, whether it was in Bohemian Rhapsody or something else. Like, we've already seen that rise to fame. So he definitely decided to focus, like you're saying, on those vignettes that made up, you know, this complicated love story, as opposed to, you know, the the rise to fame and the, you know, focusing on the music. But I think just as, you know, as somebody who didn't know anything about this world, it would have been interesting to have that context of learning about the music and the composer and the man behind, you know, that behind his composing and behind his music.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I wish like I got to, you know, at the end of the day, kind of got a little bit more of a history lesson, but I guess like I kind of crave more, but this is absolutely not a movie that I'd see a sequel for. So, you know, so at the end of the day, I just like felt like just like the movie kind of felt unfinished story wise for me. But, you know, I'm glad that it's working for a lot of people, and I'm excited to see how it does with the Oscars when it does come out. But overall, I'd say this is just a pretty forgettable film. Like, I like that Netflix tried to go in this direction, gave Bradley Cooper a shot, and I'm excited to see what he does in the future. And I still need to see A Star Is Born as well.
So, I mean, final verdict, what is this Oscar bait?
Yeah, I hate saying it, but like overall, I kind of would put it towards in that scenario, honestly.
Yeah, I definitely believe that this film is Oscar bait. It just seems like it might come up short. It might be like, because I've noticed recently the past couple of years, those Oscar bait style movies end up, once the nominations come out and once, you know, the awards are given out, they end up falling short of actually obtaining those awards. I think people might be a little bit jaded on those Oscar bait style movies. So it'd be interesting to see come when the Oscars, whether this, you know, falls short or actually, you know, comes home with a couple, you know, bits of gold.
Yeah, definitely. So, you know, whether we're right or wrong, let us know how you're feeling already after watching this video. Be sure to leave a comment down below. That's a great way to help support the show, especially when the movie is easy to watch. It's on Netflix, so be sure to check it out and come back here after you do so.
And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to get all of our latest updates.
And speaking of updates, be sure to catch all our social media links down below. We got Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, as well as our own personal Letterboxd accounts. That'll conclude this week's episode. Tune in next week for a brand new video.